What's up, y'all? Winnie here, and today we're going to be continuing reading about the Sisters of Silence finally. I said I was going to be going back and forth between the Blood Angels and the Sisters of Silence, and then for various reasons, such as a case of the Mondays, depression, or body parts not working, never got back to either one. So we're going to be picking up at an ancient order. And if you don't remember, the thing with the Sisters of Silence is that they're an order of, well, they're a sisterhood. I was going to say an order of, and I'm like, I don't know what I would call them an order of. They're just kind of kicking around. Their presence makes psychers freak out because psychic powers don't do anything to them. So, fools may call these women abominations, hags, and freaks. Only the wise know the sisters as the bravest of all humanity's saviors, they who battle chaos itself. Inquisitor Demaros, that might be a woman for all I know. I don't know. But that's the voice they have now, whoever they are. During the Great Crusade, the Emperor kept a standing battalion of the Silent Sisterhood within his personal armies. They were tasked with hunting and exterminating those who would use their psychic talent against the Imperium, or their fellow humans during the wars for Imperial compliance. Since that time, the remit of the Null Maidens has demanded that they wage near constant war. These Sisters of Silence are rare pearls in the limitless ocean of humanity. Hang on. Look at that stance, though. I know they're supposed to be terrifying, but that is just full of sass. Let's see. Each sister is 1 in a trillion, for the mental architecture of those who harbor the pariah gene is nothing like that of the common herd. They have only a startling void in place of that emotive spiritual core that empowers and guides a typical human. I'm not sure why it's capitalized. They're just humans. No simple absence is this, but a hungry, sucking abyss that makes even the spiritually inert feel unsettled and nauseous. It is this anomaly that makes the Sisters of Silence the bane of witches and daemons alike. Daemons! The Emperor once referred to this quality as a rare gift within his most esoteric servants, but in many ways it is an alienating, inescapable affliction. Yet, in a galaxy where the shadows of mankind's worst excesses are given physical form through the power of the Immaterium, it is indeed a precious resource. The sacrifice these pariahs make is profound, but without it, humanity may well have consumed itself long ago. Mankind's surety of purpose, restored by the tremendous success of the Great Crusade, was shaken to its core by the treachery of the War Master Horus. The corruption Horus spread through the Legiones Astartes, it's probably just legions, eroded the imperial truth. The secular wisdom laid down by the Emperor that foresaw the furtherance of logic and science required the outlaw of the concept of supernatural entities. The Emperor knew of the powers in the warp that haunted mankind, and had long sought to starve them of the influence by denying their existence altogether, and spreading this belief among all those who came under his rule. Part of this strategy was the manipulation of the pariah gene, an extremely rare genetic anomaly that broke the link between the Imperium and the material universe in the form of an individual human being so blessed, or afflicted as the case may be. Even the presence of a single pariah is an ice-cold blanket over the fires of the soul, a suffocating chill that can turn a nigh omnipotent psyker into a weakling ripe for slaughter. It was not through fear of his own boundless psychic talents that the Emperor waged his war of atheism, but through hope for a galaxy defined by order and reason. He resolutely denied his own godhood, even if it meant the most dire censure for his subjects who believed otherwise. To openly admit there were supernatural psychic entities in the cosmos was to open a channel that the foolish and the greedy among mortals would seek to exploit. For the temptations offered by chaos are boundless, originating as they do in the weakness and vices of human nature. Thus, the Emperor was right to do so. You would say that. As the legions Astartes, is it Legiones Astartes? I'm going to just say legions, began to fracture, the worship of Horus's new god saw many psychers treat with demonic forces. Creatures coalesced from mankind's dark reflections and beliefs within the Empyrean. Some did so unwittingly, and the resultant manifestations tore tiny holes in the fabric of real space. Holes that the fiends lurking behind the veil would gladly rip wider. Others deliberately opened such gates, dooming entire worlds to demonic invasion. Perhaps the most infamous example of loyal psychers turning against the edicts of the Emperor was that of the Thousand Sons Legion. That's not what happened. Unless I'm thinking of something else. The warrior mystic's homeworld of Prospero died in flames after a punitive strike from the Space Wolves, the Custodian Guard, and the Silent Sisterhood, who by their very presence forced the Thousand Sons to stop their use of outlawed psychic magic and the practice of sorcery, bargaining with the entities of the warp for knowledge and power. Such was their zeal and focus during the Horus Heresy, the Sisters of Silence were given unprecedented autonomy. They are trusted implicitly by the High Lords of Terra, for those deaf to the whispers of the warp are among the most reliable of human agents. Theirs is the duty of monitoring the masses via a network of trusted agents within the Adeptus Astra Telepathica. That's the one. That's what they're part of the order of. But with my limited understanding of like the deep lore of Warhammer, I know that the thing with the Space Wolves was that them attacking the Thousand Sons was not what was actually supposed to happen. Nor were the Thousand Sons actually even doing anything until they were attacked for it. Then they started doing it like, oh god, we're being killed, help us. And then Tzeentch was like, help you say? And then made everything worse, as he does. Let's see. They then hunt down any untrained or rogue psychers they find, often alongside the agents of the Inquisition, particularly the witch hunters of the Ordo Hereticus and the infamous hunter squads of the Black Ships. There are a few other roles members of the Sisterhood could fulfill, for their talent is inescapable and magnified by the Emperor's ancient artifice. Though they are trained to control their unsettling anti-psyker pariah auras, projecting them until it becomes difficult to even look upon them or suppressing them at need, the Sisters can never truly be rid of their genetic curse. After the War Master's rebellion was halted at the Siege of Terra and the Emperor was interred upon his golden throne, which is to say, Bone Man had a big seat, the Sisters of Silence found themselves without direction. Many were slain or lost forever, scattered and stranded across the war-ravaged galaxy. Undaunted by the sudden lack of guidance, they went abroad into the wider Imperium to continue their work. There, amongst the stars, they hunted rogue psychers and witches with unstinting fervor. Some as part of the Adeptus Astra Telepathica, some as lone but loyal agents who eventually settled within the teeming hordes of humanity. In some rare cases, these hunters learned to suppress their uncanny auras to some degree, and in living alongside others begot their own bloodlines. None of these would-be settlers ever stayed in one place for long, for the pariah gene is not named idly. Wherever the Sisters of Silence sought out new lives, they were hounded into exile once more by those that hated them for their intrinsic otherness. Still, not all were reviled or ironically burned as witches. The offspring of these few had children of their own, and over the generations, the genetic peculiarity of the Silent Sisterhood found its way further into the vast spread of the human race. The Sisters of Silence have banded together, but rarely since their devolution at the hands of the Horus Heresy, with each major instance of their gathering for war expunged from Imperial records. Even then, their various orders remained divided by necessity, gathering only in secret. In the Terran years since, their numbers have grown gradually but steadily into the tens of thousands. Now, in the era Indomitus, the Sisterhood is a vast army of psychic gnolls standing ready to extinguish the dark flames of chaos that threaten to consume the Imperium in the wake of the Great Rift's birth. Let's see, the picture here is a vigilator of the White Falcon's squad of the Silent Sisterhood performing her duties. The Witch Seekers and their works. Let's see, the Silent Sisterhood as an organization was one of singular reach and secrecy. Its exact numbers were unknown save to the Emperor, for though it remained nominally part of the Divisio Astra Telepathica at the time of the Great Crusade, it had long become interwoven with the will and direct agency of the Emperor himself. For while the Legio Custodes guarded the Master of Mankind directly, the Sisters of Silence became pivotal to the carrying out of the Emperor's great and secret works to contain and limit the influence of the ruinous powers, and their servants he sought to expand the imperial truth. By the later Great Crusade, the Sisters of Silence certainly numbered in the tens of thousands, though this force was widely dispersed, and the Sisterhood's untouchables crewed and commanded the vessels of the League of Black Ships. In addition, they maintained a strong presence both on Terra itself as well as notably at their headquarters on Luna, the Somnus Citadel, a facility handed over by the ancient gene cult of the Selenar, and the Magdan orbital construct, the fortified orbital anchorage station utilized by the League of Black Ships in the Sol system, to deliver their cargo and forbidden to all others. It was also taken as fact that much of the initial sifting and processing of the Great Tithe took place not in the Sol system, but elsewhere on several isolated and otherwise prohibited star systems nearby. An understandable change from the Tithe's early days given the sheer scale of the operation, as the Imperium had expanded and the potential security risk involved in so many untrained psychers being concentrated in a single area. These Divisio Astra Telepathica administered star systems were only known to the other arms of the Imperium as vague and shifting code designations, but here, the Silent Sisters alone held sway, and what numbers, facilities, and resources they possessed in these sovereign domains, none save they and the Emperor knew. In fact, such was the shroud of secrecy surrounding the Great Tithe that only the navigators of the League of Black Ships knew the location of these processing worlds and various Black Ship anchorages, collection node stations, and outposts scattered across the Imperium, and their lives were led in sealed biome crucibles, prisoning homes which auto-incinerate all within should their seals ever be compromised. Such was the priceless wealth and human potential and danger of the Great Tithe judged and guarded. Restoration in the Era Indomitus. Though a portion of the Silent Sisterhood still garrisoned the Black Ships, many more have answered the call to war in the wake of the birth of the Great Rift in the Era Indomitus. With warp storms ravaging the Imperium and the Daemon Primarchs walking the worlds of the material universe once more, the moment has come for the Silent Sisterhood to change the faltering course of human history. They will not be found wanting. Those in whom the Perigee makes itself fully manifest are still highly prized by the Adeptus Astra Telepathica. Often they are sought out at great length and considerable expense. Once they have been secured, they are taken up by the Black Ships and returned to Holy Terra. Most perish during the stringent loyalty tests and punishing physical regimes they must endure as a part of their training. Some, should they be judged fit for it, are taken to the hidden fortress of the Officio Assassinorum's Colexis Temple, where they are trained and transformed into the soulless horrors known as Colexis Assassins. Others become soul guardians within the Imperial Palace. Despite the intensity of their trials, a significant number of these female pariahs have the sheer fortitude to make it into the Silent Sisterhood. It was, I had heard how his name was pronounced from a game weeks ago, but I don't remember. I think it was Reboot Guilliman, who, upon his resurrection in 999 of the 41st, after the 13th Black Crusade, and resumption of the duties of the Lord Commander of the Imperium, ordered the remnants of the Silent Sisterhood located and reinstated to the Imperial fold. The returned Ultramarines Primarch prepares to lead the Imperium's forces against the encroaching darkness of chaos. Guilliman well remembered the value his father had placed on the Null Maidens. With the threat posed by the Great Rift, they were now needed more than ever, and he declared the Dispensatus Anathema, sending out as emissaries those of the Sisterhood who had fought with him at the Battle of Luna. The decree called upon Sisters of Silence who still fought in the sector surrounding the throne world. As Guilliman's Indomitus Crusade took shape and the first fleets were mustered, bands of Silent Sisters converged on Terra from every direction. Each isolated group had met different challenges through the generations, diverging to overcome them as necessity dictated. The tactics, characters, and traditions of each group were far removed from each other, but the collective sense of duty was undimmed. The hosts of Silent Sisters upon Terra eventually numbered near 3,000, and Guilliman declared them the Vigil Indomitus. They would be the first in a spreading network of vigils throughout the Imperium, each granted the explicit authority to carry out their ancient duties. The Vigil Indomitus divided into cadres, with each joining the battle groups of the Indomitus Crusade fleets. As the influence of the Adeptus Astra Telepathica had waxed and waned over the millennia, their military arm had become less prominent. There had once been a large population of Sisters of Silence during the Great Crusade and the Horus Heresy. Though numerous enough to play a role in the War of the Beast 1,000 standard years after the end of the heresy, by the 41st millennium they had dwindled almost to extinction. Those remaining were occupied aboard the Black Ships, hunting renegade psychers and performing the crucial role of dampening the potent and uncontrolled abilities of their human cargo. The militant orders of the Emperor's Day had been disbanded, diminished, or lost to war. The last surviving few were scattered around the Imperium, most reduced to a handful of members. They had fought on here and there, but their glory days were a myth at best. They were unremembered by the people they had died to protect. But after thousands of standard years of obscurity, when Guilliman returned, the Sisters of Silence came back willingly into the light, not because of who he was, but because of what he was. To them, the Primarch was a living saint. It shocked Guilliman that the Sisters of Silence worshipped their father as a god, as so many other misguided souls of the present Dark Age did. Not for the first time, this made Guilliman think of his brother Lorgar, the demon Primarch of the traitorous Word-Bearers, who had been so hungry to find someone worthy of his devotion. No longer centralized within the vast spire covenants of Luna, the Sisterhood has recently re-established a presence in every segmentum, forming many new orders and offshoots. Some are charged with specific duties, such as infiltrating the hyperspatial tunnels of the Webway to stymie the plans of psychic Xenos races, recovering pariahs from enemy forces that seek to use them for their own gain, or neutralizing spectral attacks in strategically vital locations. Others have carte blanche to pursue their own agendas, provided they culminate in the destruction of the archenemy's forces. If there is any quality these genetic deviants share in abundance, it is self-reliance. The Sisters of Silence had been a largely fleet-based force since the reconvening of their orders by the Primarch. They have long-standing pacts with veteran astropaths and navigator houses that are better able to endure their presence on interstellar voyages. Under Guilliman's instruction, they have been instrumental in navigating the turbulent warp storms that tear through the galaxy since the onset of the Noctis Aeterna and the birth of the Great Rift, gathering in large numbers to project a null field capable of repelling the Empyrean itself. This approach is still dangerous, however. The effect of the pariah gene is exponential and can cripple a war effort through unintended fear, confusion, and astropathic malfunction among its non-pariah elements, if used poorly. But the Sisters' efficacy cannot be denied, even by those who abhor them. They can becalm eldritch storms and cast back demonic invasions with only the force of their presence. In many ways, the Sisters stand guard over humanity's psychic evolution. Truly, these women are death incarnate to those who believe that their unnatural powers make them gods among mortals. The talons of the Emperor are always ready to tear such fools down from their pedestals. This picture here says the Emperor within the Imperial Webway leads the Legio Custodes and Silent Sisterhood against the forces of chaos during the war within the Webway of the Horus Heresy. Interesting. That is from the Black Library. Notable campaigns. Oof. So that big block is about the war within the Webway, and it was in the 31st millennia. When Magnus the Red, Primarch of the Thousand Suns, learned of Horus's fall and attempts to warn the Emperor using psychic arts forbidden by the edicts of Nakia, he inadvertently unmakes his father's great work, destroying the psychic wards around the Imperial Palace and breaching the Imperial Webway by allowing a warp rift to open up within the dungeons of the palace. Thousands of hideous daemons poured into the Imperial extension of the Webway and immediately set about attacking the Imperial forces within. The workers of the Mechanicum were slaughtered in their thousands, and the Custodian Guard were hard-pressed to hold back the tide of demonic fury that had been unleashed upon them. As the Imperial forces within the Webway were being attacked, the Emperor mustered the remainder of his Custodian bodyguard and the Null Maidens of warriors of the Silent Sisterhood. Slowly but surely, the Imperial forces pushed the blockades forward as the pressure from the demons' attack waned. As the war raged on, new troops appeared amongst the hordes of demons attacking the Imperial forces. The powers of chaos sent foully corrupted heretic Astartes, Chaos Titans, and other war machines into the Webway to try and force a victory. The war within the Webway soon took a turn for the worse, as both the Custodian Guard and Silent Sisterhood suffered many casualties. But after 5 Terran years of remaining within his prison as he sat upon the Golden Throne, trying to keep the portal between reality and the immaterial closed, the Emperor began to show signs of physical exhaustion. Sensing the birth of a powerful demonic Draknine, or Nan, no, the Emperor knew the war in the Webway was building to a critical juncture. He ordered the Sisters of Silence to gather 1,000 psychers across the width and breadth of the galaxy in order to use their innate psychic abilities to feed the growing demands of powering the Golden Throne. With this task accomplished, the sacrifice of the psychers powered the Golden Throne for a single solar day, which allowed the Emperor to leave it and lead his forces in a swift counterattack. The exhausted Custodes were reinvigorated by their master fighting by their side. The Emperor summoned an army of loyal Imperial dead from the Immaterium, including the dead Primarch Ferrus Manus, that took the form of blazing avatars to fight the demons. Drak 9 itself soon appeared, proclaiming itself the Emperor's end. However, the Master of Mankind was able to seal the demon within the body of the custodian Ra Endymion, I don't know how to pronounce that, despite it being one of my favorite Yu-Gi-Oh cards, who was then ordered to run into the depths of the webway without stop. The Emperor's actions gave the surviving Imperials enough time to evacuate the webway, and as Chaos forces closed on the portal once more, the Master of Mankind mounted the Golden Throne and sealed the gate. The gate would remain closed to the demons for as long as the Emperor was able to power it from his throne atop the Golden Portal. Only the mightiest of Psykers had power enough to do this, and even then most would be exhausted and die within a short time. Only the Emperor had the psychic might to keep the gate closed permanently, and for him the effort got harder as the demonic forces gathered about him. For as long as the demonic horde threatened to breach the portal, the Golden Throne would be his prison. When the Emperor decided to confront Horus aboard the Vengeful Spirit during the Siege of Terra, Malkador the Sigillite was left to maintain the Golden Throne and keep the portal closed in his place. After the injured body of the Emperor was brought back to the Golden Throne, the immense effort exerted by Malkador in keeping the portal shut had reduced him to mere dust. After the Emperor was placed back onto the Golden Throne, his presence in the warps has allowed the portal to remain closed for the last 10,000 standard years. Should the Emperor die, the Imperial Palace will be breached and Terra itself will be overrun by demons. So it sounds like it's not even so much that he's stuck on the throne because of how wounded he was. It sounds like he probably could get up off the throne if he wanted to. He just can't because it would immediately mean the collapse of the planet. So does that mean he's never actually he can move, but since he hasn't moved in 10,000 years, he just has been decaying and is gonna die soon. At least it sounds like in the lore that either he's gonna die soon or the chair itself is about to fail. I think what it was. But I also don't remember where I got that information from. Let's assume it was Luton. It was probably Luton. The first battle, Prospero. The Sisters' most successful campaign during the early Horus Heresy was the Imperial assault on the Thousand Suns' homeworld of Prospero after their Primarch Magnus was found guilty of violating the anti-sorcery edicts of the Council of Nicaea. The Sisters of Silence deployed in support of the Space Wolf Legion and a contingent from the Legio Custodes, and provided the main line of defense against the potent psychic abilities of the Thousand Suns Legion as they were thrown down and ultimately fled Prospero with the intervention of Tzeentch for a new home, the world of Sortiarius in the Eye of Terror. So because of what I got from reading about the Blood Angels, it sounds like the Legion is affected by whatever the Primarch does. So it sounds like when Magnus used the forbidden sorcery to try to warn the Emperor, it probably infused the Thousand Suns with psychic power, but they didn't handle it as well as he did. I don't know. I've not read about the Thousand Suns yet. Again, all I have to go off of is a trio of Luton videos about the Emperor that I watched 4 years ago. The Jorgal Persecution. A cadre of sisters were dispatched on the orders of Malkador the Sigillite, the Regent of Terra, to aid the 14th Legion of Space Marines, the Death Guard, in an attack on the Xenos known as the Jorgal. During the ensuing battle, the sisters managed to wound a mutant Jorgal Psyker and capture it to be transported back to Terra for study. So wait, So if that ended on the 10th year of the 31st millennium. Okay, the 4th year. Okay, I was about to say, didn't Malkador get dusted? Okay, that was 6 years before he got dusted. The Siege of Terra. The Silent Sisterhood provided a stalwart defense of the Imperial Palace during the Siege of Terra. They were also instrumental in the defense of the Imperial Webway extension located in the subterranean levels of the Imperial Palace against a massive demonic incursion from the Immaterium during the war within the Webway. The War of the Beast. This is the 32nd millennium, the second invasion of Ulanor. A massive orc wog of the warlord known only as the Beast rampaged across the Imperium on a massive scale, growing in size until it had become the greatest green-skin invasion that the galaxy had ever known to that time, eclipsing even the one defeated by Horus upon the world of Ulanor during the height of the Great Crusade. After several setbacks, Corland, the last surviving Imperial Fist Space Marine, realized that in order to defeat the beast and his Wog, they needed to counter the Greenskin's potent Wog Gestalt psychic power. Corland received a helpful lead from the High Lords of Terra's inquisitorial representative Veritas on the world of Nadriris, located in the far reaches of the segmentum Pacificus. Sister in silence in battle during the War of the Beast. Let's see. It was there that the last forgotten bastion of the Sisters of Silence had remained for 1,500 Terran years. When the Lord Commander of the Imperium Corland arrived, he found Nadriris under siege by the Orcs who feared the pariah Psyker killers. Corland led the effort to lift the siege, and once inside, he attempted to convince the reluctant sisters to join him in his crusade. The leader of the Silent Sisters explained that they had been cast out by a distrustful Imperium, and although they were fiercely loyal to the Emperor and the Primarchs, they would rather see the now corrupt Imperium burn than aid it in its time of need. Corland convinced the reluctant sisters to join him only after he revealed that he had the blessing of the recently resurrected Salamander's Primarch Vulcan himself. A small cohort of the Sisters of Silence took part in the subsequent invasion of the beast's homeworld of Olenor as a part of an elite assassination force. Utilizing a captured Orc Psyker, or Weird Boy, exposure to the Sisters of Silence innate pariah gene caused the Orc Psyker to implode, which started a psychic chain reaction amongst the greenskin horde that swept across Olenor. The Orcs' technology was temporarily disabled, allowing several Astartes, including Corland, to launch their final attack and slay the beast. This victory was short-lived, however, as another larger and more vicious war boss entered the throne room, one of the 6 prime orcs, each a beast in its own right, and a commander of their own greenskin legion. The new beast and its reinforcements easily swept aside the Imperial assassins before confronting Corland, and they killed the last son of Dorne. The Imperial assassin force fled with Corland's body, and the Imperial forces withdrew to Olenor to make another attempt at a later time. Following their involvement in this campaign against the Greenskin menace, the Silent Sisterhood once again faded into obscurity. Their fate wouldn't be revealed until the latter years of the 41st millennium. It says the twice. The Battle of Luna, which is the 999 of the 41st. A Null Maiden of the Sisters of Silence arrives upon Luna to battle against the Daemon Primarch Magnus the Red. Let's see. The forces of Chaos began their most concerted invasion of the Imperium. Under the eye of the War Master of Chaos, Abaddon the Despoiler, and his 13th Black Crusade, countless worlds fell during the sector-wide campaign in the Segmentum Obscurus. Upon the fortress world of Cadia, the last obstacle barring the way for a full-scale invasion of the Imperium from the vile traitor legions and the daemons within the Eye of Terror, the Imperial defenders held their ground as long as possible, mounting a valiant defense. But alas, the severely outnumbered Imperial forces faced annihilation, as the world of Cadia soon fell to the vile machinations of the dread Abaddon. Receiving help from an unexpected quarter in the form of the mysterious, however you say that, Yvrain? High Priestess of the Eldari god of the dead known as Enid? She led the Imperial defenders through a warp gate and into the webway, away from their chaos pursuers. They soon arrived in the realm of Ultramar and made all haste to Macragge, the chapter homeworld of the Ultramarines. After seeking audience with chapter master Marnius Caligar, the mysterious Archimagos Dominus Belisarius Call of the Adeptus Mechanicus and the Eldari High Priestess Yvrain have the means to resurrect a long-dead hero to help lead the defense of the embattled Imperium, the Primarch Reboot Guilliman himself. Using both arcane and technological means, they managed to successfully raise the long-dead Primarch from his millennia-long stasis. After making short work of the forces of Chaos on Macragge and many of its surrounding worlds, Primarch Guilliman and his Terran Crusade set out on their long sojourn to the throne world of Terra itself, so that the avenging son could commune with his father, the Emperor. After many trials, tribulations, and setbacks, the surviving forces of the Terran Crusade arrived upon the surface of Luna, where they were soon beset by the treacherous Thousand Suns. Things went from bad to worse with the arrival of the Daemon Primarch Magnus the Red, whose master of sorcery began to turn the tide of the battle in the Thousand Suns' favor. But the Chaos Space Marines, and most especially the Crimson King's arrival, did not go unnoticed. Within the bowels of the Imperial Palace on Terra, the all-female Order of the Sisters of Silence were called upon in the Imperium's most direst need, to put to the torch the upstart sorcerers and undo their supernatural foes with their innate psychic nullifying power. With a detachment of Adeptus Custodes by their side, the Terran defense fleet soon arrived at Luna, and the Knoll Maidens and golden-armored giants of the Custodian Guard set upon their foes with righteous fury. Utilizing their innate abilities, the Nulls helped the beleaguered Guilliman to turn the tide of the battle in the Imperial's favor, driving back the Daemon Primarch as the avenging sun rained down hate-filled blows upon his former brother. With the distraction of the Knoll Maidens, Guilliman was able to land a mortal wound upon the Crimson King, who staggered back into the Webway Gate from whence he came. With an invocation from the Harlequins who had allied themselves with Guilliman, the Webway Gate was permanently sealed and the Crimson King was cut off from Luna. The battle was as good as won. Bolstered by the sudden arrival of the Silent Sisterhood, Adeptus Custodes, and the Imperial Fists, the survivors of the Terran Crusade drove the Thousand Suns back, and soon the remainder of the traitor Marines were swiftly cut to pieces. Following this battle, the Primarch was escorted back to the Throne World, where he was granted an audience with the Emperor within his Sanctum Imperialis. Following his reemergence after several solar days, the Primarch vowed to take the fight out amongst the stars to meet the enemy in the Emperor's name. The Silent Sisterhood now stood ready once more to lend their talents to the Imperial armed forces, in case their unique abilities are needed once more. The Hunt for Mother? Unknown date, 42nd millennium. Bearing the cream, red, and black of the outer solar vigil, the Bone Tiger cadre of the Silent Sisterhood are investigators of black marketeers and other illegal economies. Such activities vein the teeming shoals of the Sol System's inter-system traffic, yet the cadre has no interest in their criminal trade, except so far as their hidden manifest can hide psychers fleeing the tithe. 5 Terran years after the first departure of the Indominus Crusade, the Bone Tiger cadre were set upon the trail of Mother Serent, an elderly businesswoman who ran halfway houses aboard Neptunian orbitals. Rumors of vanishing tenants had surfaced, and tales of blood magic had reached the outer solar vigil. Tracking her movements, the Bone Tiger cadre traced Mother Serent to a supposedly empty bulk hauler. The cadre ships patiently lay in wait for the right moment before striking with swift precision. A lengthy search of the hall chambers ended when the cadre squads came upon Serent's sanctum in a lower hold. Some 500 ragged chaos cultists surrounded her, wide-eyed and gripping improvised weapons with hands pocked with bloody scabs. Mother Serent sat feasting on some of the bulk hauler's crew, her round wrinkled face awash with blood and scored with an 8-pointed star. With a shriek of fear, she screamed at the cultists enthralled to her tainted blood to kill the interlopers. The Sisters of Silence attacked with feline grace, and the kilometer-long container echoed to the crack and explosion of bolts, the frenzied brays of Mother Serent's bloodkin, and her increasingly high-pitched wailing. After the long and patient hunt, the Bone Tiger cadre squads killed swiftly and efficiently, not stopping or taking a step back until every cultist and their heinous matriarch had been destroyed. The extinguishing of Piranus, unknown date in the 42nd. Shipborne chronometric choir sang that battle group Mercarius had reached the Gare Straits 18 solar months after their last contact with the rest of the Indominus Crusade Third Fleet. Task Force 11 swept down upon the once verdant agri-world of Piranus, whose gilt fur forest had been swathed in fire and blood by the scintillating legions of Tzeentch. While other Imperial forces made planetfall at key targets, near 200 warriors of the Auric Eagle cadre of the Vigil Indominus deployed around the capital's astropathic Chorus Spire. The uncompromising Silent Sisters of the Auric Eagle cadre surrounded the Chorus Spire, bolt guns roaring. Leaping and bounding, demons threw twisting bolts of warp fire and beams of polymorphic light at the sisters, but they guttered and died as they touched the psychic null zones around each warrior. Incensed, packs of gangling horrors and rapidly mutating flamers bore down on them with claws and fangs, while shoals of barbed screamers poured out of the smoke-filled sky. Prosecutors fired until bolt gun magazines were emptied. Witch-seekers poured forth torrents of fiery death until their flamer canisters were spent. Arcing psych-out grenades exploded in knots of writhing pseudopods, arcane substances in their cores unmaking the demons' twisting flesh. When the demons reached their lines, executioner great blades cleaved open demonic flesh and empty weapons were smashed into leering faces. When Space Marines reached the Chorus Spire solar hours later, their captain counted just 17 Sisters of Silence left alive. Their armor was gouged and melted, skin and cloaks scorched, but the capital's chorus spire, at the center of a blasted wasteland, was free of demons. So 200 went in and 17 made it out. Well, survived. I don't know if I'd say made it out. Honor before honors. Unknown date the 42nd. The Steel Drake cadre of the Reductus Sector Vigil was tasked with answering requests for aid against Xenos witch breeds. Recent monitoring of the Pargetar, might just be Pargetar, reclamation revealed desperate vox chatter from the hive world of Mesa Superior. Tales of a monstrous orc psyker whose powers were holding back entire companies. The Steel Drake cadre deployed 6 squads into the Hive City, carefully avoiding detection by rampaging orc mobs, while veteran platoons of Ushanti Astra Militarum troopers infiltrated the ruined buildings to encircle the Xenos. A huge feral figure chanted, roared, and stamped upon a ruined tower, while the sky above this orc warp head churned with green thunderclouds. Flights of Aeronautica Imperialis fighters were swatted from the air by ethereal green claws or fried by webs of actinic lightning flung from the warp head's outstretched arms. Tightly focused on their target, the sisters made their way through the shattered tunnels before finding their quarry protected. The commanding Sister Superior saw that they could not avoid the hundreds of orcs guarding the warp head and took the decision to divert them. With carefully placed shots and charges, the Sisters of Steel Drake cadre revealed the position of the Ushante's infiltrating platoons. The orc roared at finding a nearby foe and instantly leapt to engage them. Upon the tower, the warp head felt the sisters approach. The psychic manifestations surrounding him evaporated, and a moment of clarity lit his addled mind, suddenly free of the splitting headache he had known for his entire life. The feeling was brief, as then 3 bolt shells sprayed the contents of his thick skull wide. If any of the infiltrating Ushanti had witnessed the sisters' deed, none survived the orc's violence to tell of it. This is probably a good stopping point for this episode because it's a whole section with a line and everything. So I'm going to stop here. If you liked it, a like and a subscribe would be groovy. If you want to click the bell, you can do that as well so that you're notified of future uploads. And the next video in reading the Warhammer Wiki is going to be part 2 of the Blood Angels. So, thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Later.